The Slenderman is an alleged paranormal figure purported to have been in existence for centuries, covering a large geographic area. The Slenderman is said to be a pale figure in a black suit with preternaturally elongated limbs or even tentacles. He has no discernible features, but his face occasionally takes different forms. His primary targets are children, although all human beings are potentially prone to being traumatized by his very presence. Seeking to know more about him often draws his unwanted attention, and he can teleport directly to your location with little to no warning. Lurking in forests or other lonely abandoned places, his proximity can trigger increasing disorientation, paranoid feelings, insanity, and the occasional nosebleeds. Attempting to record him on video or audio is usually futile. Oftentimes, it is reported that he can be found in sections of woods, and these generally tend to be suburban. He also has been reported seen with large groups of children, as many photographs portray. He seems unconcerned with being exposed in the daylight or captured in photos. It is often thought as well that he enjoys stalking people who become overly paranoid about his existence, purposefully giving them glimpses of himself in order to further frighten them. For this reason, it seems like Slenderman very much enjoys psychologically torturing his victims. He also often appears to float or drift around rather than walk, which suggests the possibility of him being an ethereal being rather than a creature or a man. This would also explain why he is able to remain mobile in spite of his poorly proportioned body. The earliest argued reference to the legend is within the cave paintings found in the Serra do Capivara National Park in the northeast of Brazil, which are believed to date from as far back as 9000 BC. These paintings show a strangely elongated character leading a child by the hand, but make no reference to the extra appendages. The next known possible reference to the Slenderman comes from around 3100 BC in Lower Egypt, with references to the thief of the gods or the thief of Kuk, becoming commonplace during the reign of Pharaoh Wasna. Hieroglyphic carvings representing the thief were found in the pharaoh's tomb, who was rumored to have had some kind of encounter with the entity. The carvings resemble a strange figure with multiple upper limbs, one that has never been found in any other hieroglyph language. Renowned German woodcutter Hans Freckenberg created at least 2 woodcuts featuring a character he described as der Grobman, the tall man, during the mid-16th century that were discovered in Holzberg Castle in 1883. Whilst Freckenberg was well known for his realistic depiction of human anatomy, something that was unusual among woodcuts of the time, these pictures featured a skeletal multi-limb character. They have also discovered an old journal from Freckenberg dated 1702 in which Freckenberg claims, "My child, my Lars, he is gone. Taken from his bed. The only thing that we found was a scrap of black clothing. It feels like cotton, but it is softer, thicker. Lars came into my bedroom yesterday screaming at the top of his lungs that the angel is outside. I asked him what he was talking about, and he told me some nonsense fairy story about der Grobman. He said he went into the groves by our village and found one of my cows dead hanging from a tree. I thought nothing of it at first, but now he is gone. We must find Lars, and my family must leave before we are killed. I am sorry, my son, I should have listened. May God forgive me." There is also a Romanian fairy tale which tells the legend of the tall man featuring this description, which may have taken to refer to the Slenderman. The tall man stood in a clearing dressed as a nobleman, all in black. Shadows lay over him dark as a cloudy midnight. He had many arms, all long and boneless as snakes, all sharp as swords, and they writhed like worms on nails. He did not speak, but made his intentions known. In the fairy tale, the tall man causes a mother to kill her husband and child before he slid from a fireplace and clenched her in his burning embrace. And finally, there is an English myth referring to the tree man, whom is said to have a slim body with appendages that looks like tree branches. He is only known to be seen in the woods and was used as a story that parents told their children to thwart bad behavior. There have been quite a few disappearances of children that have been said to be linked to the tree man. Slenderman really hit home in 2014, which left thousands in shock and horror. On the 31st of May 2014, 2 12-year-old girls in Waukesha, Wisconsin allegedly held down and stabbed a 12-year-old classmate 19 times. When questioned later by authorities, they reportedly claimed that they wished to commit a murder as a first step to becoming proxies for the Slenderman. Having read about it online, they also state that they were afraid that Slenderman would kill their families if they did not commit the murder. The victim was able to crawl from the woods where she had been left to reach a roadside. A passing cyclist intervened and the victim survived the attack. Both attackers have been diagnosed with mental illnesses but have also been charged as adults and are each facing up to 65 years in prison. One of the girls reportedly said Slenderman watches her, can read minds and could teleport. On the 1st of August 2014 she was found incompetent to stand trial and her prosecution was suspended until her condition improved. On November 12, 2014 a doctor judged that her condition had improved enough for her to stand trial, and on the 19th of December 2014 the judge ruled that both girls were competent to stand trial. In August 2015 the presiding judge ruled that the girls would be tried as adults. They were tried separately. On the 21st of August 2017, one of the girls, now 15, pleaded guilty to being a party to attempted second-degree homicide but claimed she was not responsible for her actions on grounds of insanity. Although prosecutors alleged that she knew what she was doing was wrong, the jury determined that she was mentally ill during the attack. She will spend at least 3 years in a mental hospital. On the 21st of December, Waukesha County Circuit Judge Michael Boren sentenced Ware, then 16 years old, to be hospitalized for 25 years from the date of the crime, which would keep her institutionalized until age 37. In a statement to the media, Eric Knudsen said, "I am deeply saddened by the tragedy in Wisconsin and my heart goes out to the families of those affected by this terrible act." He stated he would not be giving interviews on the matter. On the 25th of September 2017 it was reported that Morgan Geezer, then 15, had agreed to plead guilty to attempting to commit first-degree homicide in an arrangement that would allow her avoid jail time. In terms of the arrangement, Geezer would remain at the mental hospital where she had been staying for the past 2 years for at least a further 3 years. On the 1st of February 2018, the Associated Press reported that Geezer had been sentenced to 40 years in the Wisconsin mental hospital, the maximum sentence allowed. A documentary film on the incident called Beware the Slenderman was released in March 2016 and was broadcast on the 23rd of January 2017. After hearing the story, an unidentified woman from Cincinnati, Ohio, told a TV reporter in June 2014 that her 13-year-old daughter had attacked her with a knife and had written macabre fiction, some involving the Slenderman, who the mother said motivated the attack. On the 4th of September 2014, a 14-year-old girl in Port Richey, Florida, allegedly set her family's house on fire while her mother and 9-year-old brother were inside. Police reported that the teenager had been reading online stories about Slenderman. Eddie Daniels of the Pasco County Sheriff's Office said the girl had visited the website that contains a lot of the Slenderman information and stories. It would be safe to say there is a connection to that. During an early 2015 epidemic of suicide attempts by young people ages 12 to 24 on the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, Slenderman was cited as an influence. The Oglala Sioux tribe president noted that many Native Americans traditionally believe in a suicide spirit similar to the Slenderman. But who is Slenderman? What is his history? One story on Slenderman history goes as follows. Simon, or otherwise known as Slenderman, played in the woods ever since he was a child. He was a very strange child. He liked to go in the woods during the night and he wasn't afraid. When he turned 10, tragedy fell upon him. His house was burned and his parents died. He ran deep into the woods, finding somewhere safe. Eventually he found a dark and small house, which is the house of Granny. Granny was a widow and has a daughter named Angeline. Simon and Angeline grew up together. And when they reached the age of 17 they fell in love. They spent a lot of time walking in the woods when suddenly on one night Simon lost Angeline in the woods. Eventually he found her lying on a dark path. Simon brought her home and Granny medicated the wound on her leg. When Angeline woke up, she told them a dog with red eyes and sharp teeth had bitten her leg. She also kept talking about a curse. She was going crazy and she didn't know what was going to happen next. When night dawned upon them, she dreamt that someday she and Simon will have a cursed daughter. 1 year later, Simon and Angeline decided to move out. They found a new home, and then their daughter was born. When Slenderman turned 14, the curse occurred. One night she and Simon were playing in the woods. They saw a shadow figure in the sky that looked like Angeline. She ran home while her father was still in the woods. When Simon went home, he found his daughter and wife lying dead on the bed. With anger and grief, he went to the kitchen and killed himself with the kitchen knife. But they were actually only playing dead. They went to the kitchen to find Simon, but there he was dead and surrounded by a pool of blood. They got scared and ran into the woods to seek help, but they couldn't find anyone. They kept seeking for help until they lost hope and gave up, so they decided to go home and bury his corpse. But when they arrived home and back in the kitchen, he was no longer there. They climbed up to their bedroom and found him lying on the bed. He then slowly raised up, ready to take them both to the underworld, taking their souls. After the incident, Simon's face became empty and pale, his arms grew long and he developed tentacles on his back. He was then called Slenderman. As for now, he started to haunt the woods to look for children to play with. Is the Slenderman real or just made up fan fiction that caused a mass hysteria? You decide. The Slenderman is an alleged paranormal